Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Dirty Pat Walsh channel on YouTube with me, your host, Dirty Pat Walsh. I'm having trouble with my video maker again, so I'm just going straight off the camera. I'm trying a new filter today. It's called 1839. So, welcome back to 1839, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to pick up where I left off yesterday with part 2 of me and the harmonica. The wind that stole my heart. So that's pretty cheesy, eh? But it is what it is. So anyhow, when I left off, I was talking about how when I lived in Oakville, it was really hard to learn the harmonica. Even though I learned it enough to play it and play it okay enough to get by, So then I moved to Peterborough. I moved to Peterborough because I'd been here to visit a friend a few times. I absolutely loved it here. I had to leave my hometown because life was getting extremely bad, and I really had nothing there. So one night at 3 a.m., my friend Craig called me up and asked if I'd be his roommate in September. So I jumped on it, quit my job as soon as I could, put in my 2 weeks notice, and I was out of there. And no, it's funny because my mother was so discouraging of my music, the music I was trying to make. And, when we had that mother-son talk about moving, and, I'd been living on my own for a few years before I moved here, but, I was moving away from my family, so my mom was pretty upset. And right before I left, she bought me a harmonica. She bought me a key of C Hohner Pro Harp, which was the black satin one I was talking about earlier in the last video, which I thought was really sweet of her. I don't have that harmonica anymore because I modified it into a minor key harmonica for my friend Charlie to use in their performance art, and gave it to them years ago. But when I hit Peterborough, things, because I had to quit my job to move here, and welfare was really easy to get on, and it actually paid your bills at that time. But my friend Craig had told me, you can make like good money as a busker here, and this is right when I was trying to put the harmonica and the guitar together and be something of a folk singer, I don't know why I was driven to do that, but I was. So, I started out as a busker the first year I was in Peterborough. That's pretty much all I did, was go busking, and I did it every day, and at the corner of Hunter and George, and and that's where I really learned how to play to an audience. The busking is something that is incredibly important, I feel, for most musicians to experience in their life. And I made good money busking. I made like $20 an hour, which was really good, actually. And a lot of the time I was just standing there strumming my guitar and trying to blow harmonica with the chords I was fitting together, right? And so I learned a lot, being a busker, about how to project my voice, about how to just how to work it, and that was really good experience. Experience is probably the most valuable experience I've had, was being a busker. And that led me to, people kind of, I was out there every day doing it, and I was also hanging around the Only and stuff, so people knew who I was, and They knew what I was up to at that point. So I started getting asked to do little sit-ins with stuff on my harmonica. The very first recording I ever did was way back in 1993, I think, where I played harmonica on my friend Dave Tuff. He's an incredible musician from Peterborough. I played harmonica along with a song I don't remember the name of on his first cassette release called Ugly. And I really wish I had that because that's the first recording I ever made. I don't have it anymore. But and I started getting asked to do little bits for dance pieces and stuff like that, and which is a world I never thought I'd enter as a harmonica player, doing music for dance, and I'm still doing it. That's like the most recent thing I've done, was scoring a dance piece. So, and I was trying to be a songwriter at the time. I'm still a songwriter, but at that point, I was really working it because that was just where it was at here in town. There was no real rock music going on. It was a seriously folk centered town. You know, so I figured if I could bring, and all the folk singers were, it was folk music, right? And there wasn't really much grit to it. You know. People covering Indigo Girl songs and stuff like that at the open stage, So I started going to the open stage when I'd written a few songs, and I impressed the sound guy enough who was Ian Osborne, who was turned into my longtime bandmate. We don't talk anymore for some reason, but yeah, he was my longtime bandmate. But he took me aside after one of the open stages, and he said, you have a real drive to your music that is something that needs to be recorded. So I want to record your first album. So he did that. I released a cassette back in 1994 called Dog Derby, which was my first album. You can find it up online somewhere. I would never ever play any of the songs that are on it again. It was my very first effort. But it was a good effort, and people seemed to like it. I sold out of the cassettes in a week, so that was good. Anyhow, there was this restaurant that had opened in town called Hot Belly Mama's that was like a soul food restaurant. That I ended up working at years later as a cook. But the owner was really into blues music. Okay, I'll talk about him more in a bit, but he was really big into blues music. His name was Neil. And so he was holding some event at his restaurant, and he wanted a live blues band. So he came to me, and as the only blues musician that he knew, and said, "Hey, do you think you can put together a little blues band to do this event at the restaurant?" And I say yes to everything, so I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." Because I had started playing in bands at the time. I was playing for a hip hop band called Special Guest. I was playing with Wine with Everything, but didn't play much harmonica in that. But anyhow, I knew a lot of musicians, and so I asked a few people, and they were on board. Could be fun. So we put together a little blues combo called the Dirty Bird Blues Band, and I kind of fronted it and played harmonica, and all the guys were guys I knew from the hip hop band I played in, and another band which I can't remember, but so it was good. We pulled this one offer, and it was pretty good. But that kind of led to Hot Belly Mamas wanted to host more live music, and Neil, the owner, really wanted to learn how to play blues music. So he asked me. He said, "Hey, if I give you a one night a week to do an electric open stage where people like bands can come down and play instead of this just the folk music stuff, like he's like, real fucking bands can come and play through amplifiers and then with a drum kit and stuff. So I'll need a band to host this event, and so I want you to be in charge of putting together a band, but the one rule is I got to be the bass player because I want to learn how to play blues." So I said, "Okay." So I asked the two finest guitar players I knew, Scott Mucklow and Wyatt Burton. I asked the drummer from Special Guest, Matt Seifert, and Neil was on bass, and I played harmonica, and Wyatt sang, the lead guitar player. So yeah, I pretty much just played harmonica for that band, and we had a great time. We did all kinds of shit. I've talked about the Jacksons quite a lot in recent videos, I think. Like we toured all the way down to Louisiana, just busking, like just doing a busking tour. We recorded one album. It was called One Legged Crack Whore. We weren't the most politically correct band, but and yeah, we would play, and we played a lot, and it was pretty crazy, and that's where I really honed down my skills with playing with a fast, high energy blues band. Takes a lot of wind. Took a lot of wind to play in that band. But it was good. It was a really great, magical thing. Out of all the bands I've ever had, I think I missed that one the most. And that, anyway, the Jacksons kind of led to, when we broke up, it was right around the time the Silverhearts started up. As I had a weekly gig at some little weird steakhouse called the Excalibur, and I had a weekly open stage gig that I hosted, and two of the regulars to this open stage was Trevor Davis and Charlie Glasspool, who the two of them ended up being like the heart and soul of the Silverhearts, and I introduced them, and and the people who come to this open stage, like Wyatt, Jim Gleason, this bass player who was a little older than us, and started playing kind of old time music and stuff like that, and yeah, so right at the turn of the century, 1999, last day of 1999, the Silverhearts had their first gig at the Gordon Best Theater, and the day after, on New Year's Day, they asked me if I would, because I had introduced them all, would I play harmonica with the Silverhearts? And of course I said yes, and that ended up being like a 15-year long career where I toured, Canada. I toured the east coast of Canada like a bunch of times, like I think 4 times. We traveled all the way out from Ontario to Victoria, BC, which is like kind of like the farthest you can go, and yeah, we toured all across the country. We recorded five or six albums. We recorded one of our albums was Tom Waits' album, Rain Dogs, and we had the thumbs up from Tom Waits to do that, because I thought that was pretty cool. We had like pretty big highfalutin management at the time. I'm really compressing this story. I'm really trying to cram it all in 20 minutes. but yeah, so we got great gigs. We had gigs all over the place, and we were recording, doing lots of stuff. We did a lot of stuff. We were kind of around 2003, we were kind of the darlings of the music industry here in Canada for a bit. We had our 5 minutes of fame, because we were such a unique band. And in the Silverhearts, Silverhearts was like a 14-piece barroom orchestra that had like sousaphone, trombone, trumpet, piano, couple guitars, lap steel, fiddle, accordion, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I played harmonica. And when I played harmonica with them, I kind of mentioned it yesterday when I was talking about acoustic playing. With the Silverhearts, I never used like a harmonica mic like this. I would always use like the microphone on a stand, and I would just play acoustically into the microphone, and because that was the sound that suited the band most. It wouldn't have been appropriate to have an amplifier set up. It would just be too much. So yeah, so that was cool. That was really good fun. I sparked the interest of Mitch Podolik, who was one of the big industry people here in Canada. He particularly liked me and the passion and the drive I had towards music, as opposed to most other people that he met, I guess. Yeah, he wanted to be my manager, and if he had done that, my life would be very different than it is now. What happened was we were right down to signing, like the contract was like being sent to me, or I'd gotten it, and it was the contract that was going to put me on tour for years, and because Mitch said, you're never going to be the kind of musician who plays like headlines a huge festival, but you're definitely going to have a cult following of people who like what you do, and we got to work that. And anyway, so I called him up. We were just kind of fine tuning the contract, and I was asking him some question, and he asked how I was doing, and I said, I'm good. I have a baby on the way. And he said, "Oh yeah," and I said, "Yeah." In December we're having a baby, and he said, "Okay, well, I'll see you in 20 years. Take care of that kid," and that was the end of it. And he was, he wasn't cutting me off or anything. He was doing me a favor by saying, if you're gonna be on tour with me, like if I'm gonna put you on tour, you're gonna be one of those dads who's never around. And so I'm kind of glad that happened, because I love my children more than I would love touring around, you know, and that's saying a lot because I love touring around, but I love my children more than anything. Um, but anyhow, yeah, the Silver Hearts was an amazing experience. It lasted for 15 years. We did so much that we're just like a big family. And even now, like we had a huge falling out in 2014, but now we're like all cool again. Sometimes, you lock the boys up in a room together for 15 years, they're gonna fight, so that's kind of what happened. Because yeah, when you're on tour with a band all the time, because we were on tour like an average of like 4 nights a week kind of thing. Um, when you're on tour all the time in a van, especially when you're crossing the country, um, you're not only with your band like the whole time, you're within a few feet of your band the whole time, right? Most of the time you're doing it because you're doing stuff together. You got to be there for sound check. You got to be there for uh, like you just got to be there together, at a gig, and you can break off to the bar and get a beer or something, but you're still with these people. And when you're in a van, like a couple feet apart from everybody, for the next 15 hours or whatever, you know, tempers kind of flare. I saw a lot of that happen in the van we had. We had a huge van. We had an extendo van, and Charlie Patch and I would basically sit at the back of the van all day and try to avoid the mayhem, you know. But yeah, but what an experience that was, playing with the Silver Hearts. Our debut album, No Place, won album of the year here in Canada on the CBC radio. We got to record with great people. Somewhere, yeah, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of recordings that are out in the world that I'm never gonna hear that have my harmonica playing on it because it was little guest sessions and stuff, right? But yeah, anyway, in 2014, my life came to a crashing halt in many ways. So I guess I'll expand upon that in the next video, part 3, and the conclusion of my life with the harmonica, the wind that stole my heart. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy the video. If you enjoy it, give it a like. If you don't, fucking move on or give it a thumbs down. Either way, thanks for watching. Yeah, I hope doing these videos, I'm not trying to brag about my life or anything like that. I'm hoping that these stories will inspire other people because I've I've been so deeply inspired by the harmonica all of my life, and it's taken me places. It's without playing the harmonica, I wouldn't have done even half of the cool stuff that I've gotten to experience in my life. So that's all I'm trying to put out with these is inspiration. To take your passion and run with it and see where it takes you, because that's what I did, and it took me farther and deeper than I ever expected I would go. And so tomorrow I'll be talking about my 2-year hiatus from music, what got me back into it, and what led up to me getting both a recording deal with Mirkwood Recordings and a gear sponsorship with Bone Daddy's lo-fi harmonica microphones. And I'll explain what I'm doing now and why I approach the sound I try to approach, and such and so forth. Now that I'm out here on my own, and I'll talk about I Am Made of Fire a bit tomorrow too. But yeah, 23 minutes. You've heard enough of my fucking shit for the day. Sorry I didn't have a dip in. I was thinking I was going to be blowing some harp. Maybe I'll blow a little harp. Here. All right. That's the first harmonica I played today. Be well, everybody. I hope you enjoy the video. Yeah, like it, and then subscribe if you care to. And I do have a PayPal option if you care to donate to the channel that I forgot to put in the video yesterday, but that's okay because I'm not really trying to hustle. It's just there if anybody cares to donate to the Dirty Pal Walsh channel. All right. Be well, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful Easter Sunday. And find all the eggs.